Hi there, dear therapist, coaches, hypnotist, or hypnotherapist, whichever credentials you're assigned. In many of my previous videos, I've been talking about making your practice easier when you're working with individuals that you're supporting. Like what to do when clients say, I can't be hypnotized, if that's mainly how you are working. What works with so-called resistant clients or difficult clients, how you do not need to prepare anything before a session or give homework in order for the session to be more effective, and so on. And that by laying out principles upon which organic conversations in hypnotherapy works from, and few of which I've talked are like, do not try to solve the client's problem or problems. Don't worry, I'll build on it later on. Then slow down to speed up. Test every solution your client is coming to or coming up with to make sure there are no hidden layers, which are often a reason you have to have multiple and multiple sessions. And some even talk about like 12 or more weekly sessions. That also builds in price, as they say, and costs much more than the prices that in the first sight seem expensive, and so on and so forth. So, to answer some of these questions that you people have asked me, in this video, I will dive into more information about how is that possible so it starts making more sense. But before going into it, let me just briefly let you know that in a couple of weeks, I'll be launching a practitioner's training for organic conversations in hypnosis, where through demos with my direct mentoring and hands-on skills, I'll show you this remarkable way of doing hypnotherapy or coaching work without ever having to prepare for a session again. Like no scripts, no over analyzing the client's intake, overthinking about most appropriate techniques for the respective client or issue, or long hours of work for only one client, plus the homework creation after the session, and so much more. One more time, as I said in the beginning, it's going to be a practitioner's training, so it is for already qualified practitioners, whether seasoned or you're just starting out, meaning it is not a certification training. It's important for me to be very transparent here, as the industry of hypnosis, hypnotherapy, or coaching, and so on is differently regulated in different countries, so you have to have that in mind, as I can't possibly take any responsibility for that at this point in time. So now that I said that, you might be thinking, well, if we are not going to learn better scripts or scripts at all, better, quicker induction techniques, how is it possible that even no prep work or homework will help us or our clients to achieve lasting and permanent results and in a few sessions? And yes, those are all valid questions. And I know because I have been there too. Luckily, not for a long time. So, until I started applying these principles with the individuals that I was supporting, I was thinking the same. Even have tried at some point to fit the ideas in, blend, compare, and so on until it made perfect sense. But I also understand how time consuming and energy draining the sessions in the more traditional modalities can be, and even in some of the later ones. So, this whole summer, I have also done a lot of research work, talking to many colleague therapists in the hypnosis NLP coaching world, and they all share those common concerns that I mentioned, plus the ache of multiple and multiple sessions for the same problem, worry if the problem is resolved or not, worrying about the depth of trance, plus to some extent starting to doubt everything that ever learned or their own capacity and skills as a therapist. So, what is it about organic conversations in hypnotherapy or OCH that allows us to drop all that work before and after, and yet allows for less sessions with lasting and permanent results? Well, organic conversations hypnotherapy is all about simplifying our work, which is also really much more beneficial for the people that become our clients. And I'll mention only a few of those benefits. So it's elegant, drops resistance, and they do not have to come back so many times to see you for the same problem or us. It is designed to solve those teething problems and have you never again doubt your skills or if you'll ever succeed in performing effectively. So those techniques start working. Well, the main thing about organic conversations in hypnotherapy is that it is not about performance at all in any level or about proving something, but it is a building purely on principles and does not exclusively rely on any technique. So many modalities speak of principles too, and that is fantastic because we need to know them. Though what confuses most of the therapists is that when it comes to application, they are still bound by techniques and tools. Then sometimes those techniques work and other times don't. Then, when one starts figuring out what tool or technique works for a certain niche, everybody rushes to learn tools about, let's say, anxiety, about smoking, about weight loss, pain, etc., to only add more tools to their already huge toolbox, more techniques, more piles of scripts, and so on and so forth. So then, falling back into the trap of resistant clients, difficult clients, not hypnotizable clients. Not everything works the same for everybody. Moving so far away from the main principle, if I may say so, that is, everybody is an individual with their own huge library of experiences, different baggage, and solutions too. You see, therefore, you think some techniques will be helpful one time and not another time, so you need to learn them all. But that's why it is becoming almost hit or miss, or almost a game of luck, so to speak. While so many of you during the research interview were telling me it is becoming energy draining. So the main question was, for what niches does it work? Well, I'm here to tell you that already hundreds and hundreds, actually thousands of hypnotherapists are working with it, with over 50 niches or so. And this leads me then to another foundational principle of organic conversations in hypnotherapy, according to which we all know that presenting problems are effects, are consequences, are convictions, beliefs, or symptoms of the real problems. So, hope this makes sense. And I know most of the modalities tell us their power lies because they are digging into the root cause, but then focus on the symptoms mainly. I know it may be hard to comprehend right now, but I'm sure it is going to make more sense as I go on. Plus, once you experience it yourself, it will be pretty clear. In more traditional ways, the steps are like strategy call, then an intake call, where you build a report, which is actually among few really therapeutic parts of the work. But anyhow, afterwards, when in the session, explaining the trance, rehearsing the steps, making the client feel comfortable with imitating what you show them, and then starting out. Now, mentioning again the previous principle that I mentioned, 99.99% of the time, whatever your client tells you what the problem is and anything around it, it is their what is in their conscious awareness. So it is something that has become as a rehearsed chore, so to speak. So now getting the client into trance with that chore, it is not always helpful. So the therapy and organic conversations in hypnotherapy starts way earlier. Someone books a consultation call with you, which is what we will talk about during the training more in depth about. But once the client books in to work with you, so you can assist them work out what they need or want to. You do not use more time for report building or intake session. Instead, you inquire about the real problem in that first call after the client decides they are going to work with you. And you do so by breaking the problem down once your client starts giving you unconscious cues or slips and that are important and relevant to the context of their real problem. So, unconscious cues or slips are of a big importance in organic conversations in hypnotherapy. And as I have mentioned in some of my previous videos, there are quite many of them. If you think about it, you'll recall that the real problems or solutions, when a person has no clue how to deal with, are normally unconscious. So we can't focus, uh, or let's say we can't start by relying purely on a conscious information. Luckily, we share a mix of conscious and unconscious information all the time during our days, like day in and day out, during our communications. So when we work with someone to support them in what they need to or uh, what they want to, we know what to look for. And this brings me to saying there are no right or wrong questions, but asking the questions at the right time with least amount of words and real curiosity and no judgment whatsoever. And this is also one of these principles. By doing so, it will draw our clients' attention even deeper into their naturally emerged unconscious cues that deeply within they know better than us where that is, when, and what it is about. So, no need for deepness either. That means no more worry about the depth of trance or certain regression techniques either. I hope you can have a better picture by now and can see how it does not risk uncertainty for you, as you really do not have to be certain of anything. Like, logically speaking, the unconscious information is so huge that even if we attempted to be 100% sure of something for ourselves, you can see the headache coming from it. Now, the client is the expert of their own problems and solution, and that is another principle that blends into the mix. Otherwise, whatever we do, it is the same as the client do when they consciously tell us about their problem, so their best guess. And if we do that too now, or even worse, start reading scripts that we buy or ask a colleague for, you see, that is going to end up being really a big guessing game. Now, what else? You have also asked if it works with certain niches, and while I mentioned a few words about it a bit earlier, here I'm going to give away one more little insight from the third day of the Coming Life Practitioners Training, when we'll talk some about business too. So also about a few ways on how to differentiate on the already oversaturated market. And shortly put, that is what niching is for. Yes, listen to this sentence again. With this, I'm not saying that growing in-depth knowledge, you see, on how those niches play out in people's life is not needed. It is needed, and that's really good and fine to acquire. But just going for more tools for different niches is almost a large labyrinth, not a library, you see. If you think about this or listen to this video again, you'll see that one can build any technique actually from scratch by themselves if you start from principles and still never be bound by any type of them or tools for that matter. And this is not to say that there is no time and place for techniques and tools, but once only somebody is more aware of many things, they will not go to therapy, but simply notice a symptom, become aware of what it is about, and use those tools themselves, as they already are empowered and courageous enough to do what they need to do when it is needed, or until they finally decide to go for a therapeutic session. Use those to temporarily find some sort of relief, to calm down, to overcome a certain state or mood. Which brings me to saying that organic conversations in hypnotherapy focuses on the therapy and allows the calm or relaxation come as a byproduct. You might say that organic conversation in hypnotherapy, is just another technique, since it works from principles and that techniques are built from principles. Well, just engage in an organic conversation and be present with your client while they do or say what they need to until all is done, and you'll really have a profound experience. So, even if it is a technique, or even if it is a technique or not, it's not what it makes it work. You see, it is an organic conversation in hypnotherapy, and conversations or communications are the most natural means that we have that create connections, be it with the outer world or our inner one, without which many problems actually uh, emerge in everyone's reality. So let me just count some more key principles about which I'm going to be talking in the next videos with different contexts, and then close this video by showing you a brief overview of the OCsH timeline one more time. So some more of the principles are: do not look for specific trance. All clients go into trance their own way and have a breakthrough in their own ways. Do not separate problems into categories or size or intensity, you know. However, still work inside your means and scope of practice. When a client can no longer perceive the problem in the same way and has some kind of choice in their thinking about the problem, that's when the problem actually becomes malleable until it does not exist anymore. And now here's one more time the complete timeline of the organic conversations in hypnotherapy. So it all starts before the session with your client by knowing how to differentiate in the market. Your client booking and paying you on the consultation, and once in the session, you start with a normal conversation, asking your client curious questions to find out what the real problem is. Once they start engaging in the conversation and you notice they are giving you unconscious cues, or there are conflicting realities, blocks, knots, you ask related questions to those cues depending on the relevance for your client. From there, the client gains insight, and it is the time when the therapy or the trance, is normally happening. It can happen where the silence is happening as well, because there is a processing going on. Either it is the insights or coming up with a solution. Then it is the time where you either use some processing instructions or not, depending on the very moment. And once the processing has faded and lots of aha moments emerge, resources or solutions, so to speak, you connect back, create new insights or emotions, then repeat the whole process, which is becoming tremendously shorter with any repetition instead of having multiple sessions. Then you test the new insights, the whole theme, problems, and once that is over, you demarcate by coming back to the present moment through normal conversation, after which you tell your client about the processing after the session, how it can speed up, and that is it. So what happens from there is simply happy clients, plenty of referrals, and a big win-win-win situation. So this is all that is from this timeline, but what it does is changing the whole wheel of the transformation process, empowering the clients to naturally regain their resilience and courage, and then leaving you plenty of time and energy to also be able to focus on presenting your work to more people that need support in this oversaturated market without anymore selling to people sessions or packages, but pure breakthroughs, and never worry about your prices again, because believe it or not, people want to achieve results and as quickly as possible without having to do a homework or any homework for that matter, or come to see a therapist like so many times. And don't get me wrong here when I speak about paying clients or prices. I have done also free sessions myself, and you get to differentiate people that really want or need help, but really can't afford it. And if I had some time in the past, I would not turn away a person that is anyhow appreciative. So they too get results, but you will also, if you have not already, encounter also people that take advantage of the free access, but are just there for excuses and looking for objections to not change anything or take any responsibility. So will blame everything and everyone as an objections, not to take responsibility. So you definitely want to stay away from those people, have some boundaries. So when working with one-on-one clients, I will speak some more what will help to identify those red flags and not fall a prey to those situations during the life practitioners training. Now, clients also do not think of who is trained by who and what model they're engaging with, because they don't know, and they definitely do not enjoy being constantly told what to do. Now, a lot of people are convinced that more homework is of value, more sessions or more time with the client or client with the therapist is a value, like more tools and techniques and so on. But so far, in my experience, no client has ever told me that they want to definitely stay in therapy. So there's nothing more to say there. Sure, there are some clinical cases, let me also mention, that need clinical observation, but they rarely knock at our doors, and we surely can only work within our means and the scope of our practice, but that is another topic altogether. So, this is it for now. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed it, and I see you soon.